Good morning. It's November 12th, 2024. You've joined the Kubeflow community meeting. I want to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded and it is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct. We have an agenda as we always do in the community meeting, and the first thing that we usually go to is the release update. And so I believe we're going to try to get a release update on 1.10. Do we have somebody from the release team here? Ricardo, Dimitri, Eddie?
Hey Josh, I can take this on.
Okay.
So release update. Just usual. We're still under the development phase. So what we've been doing is just monitoring progress across the working groups with their development components. We are preparing ourselves for the next week, which is our biggest important meeting. It's the release team checkpoint. So you can see in the proposed schedule that it's next week. So we're planning to have our liaisons to say if their working groups are more than 50% of the work done. We know that some of them we already see they are passed through the 50% milestone, notebooks, pipelines. We know that there is milestones, so it's great to see that it's easily trackable. But for the others, we're waiting for next week to see their updates. We're also working on the initial docs planning and the initial test plan. Our test lead already wrote a test plan for it. So what we need is review that document. In the initial docs, we need to plan what are the proposed changes for the next release. That's it for now. Not much to update here since we're still under the development phase. We know that all the working groups are making very substantial progress, but I believe our accurate update for the development phase progress will be happening the next week. So that's it. Floor is open for any questions, comments, concerns.
So, Ricardo, once again, we get dinged the most on documentation, see if I can get the word out, and testing, right? People say stuff to us about that. I have seen where in this release, there has been a proactive effort around both of those. Is there any update, especially on documentation and testing, that you think is different or should be, as we go to this halfway place, is there anything in particular that we're doing differently, you need help on, anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good call, Josh. Because I need to say that we have a change in the release team. Unfortunately, Diego needs to step down from the docs lead role. And according to the release handbook, it's up to the release manager to take that role in the absence of the docs lead. So I'll probably need some help in this. But yeah, I'm still planning to do that cap about changing the workflow for the documentation changes. All I need is some time to write this cap better. And then we can discuss in the upcoming meetings about the feasibility of this new workflow. Because one of the things that Diego brought this to the release team topics, which I guess I kind of agree of it. Docs lead and test leads are supposed to know a little bit about the whole Kubeflow distribution, but they shouldn't be experts of a given component. So the best people who could bring good suggestions about testing their components or making propose changes to the documentation should be the working group members. So I believe we can get the best on this experiment with docs changes and test plan if we get the working group members involved in those two phases. So I really appreciate if I can get a call from the working group leads, if I can count on you with helping on the testing plan and the documentation changes, because although test plan is something new to the release process, the docs lead stepping down and myself needed to take that role will make things different. So I really appreciate if you guys can help me on make progress on both tasks.
Yeah, here's a suggestion. I don't know if this is going to help or not, but it would be really nice if we could get some end users to work with the working groups to look at the documentation. So I don't know if there's some adaptation of the release team, but the documentation process is too much for one person to volunteer to do. The other part of it is, I think that the contributors are doing their best to just write the code and then document it, but they really need feedback. So I guess the piece that I would like to see as a process that we think about in the release team is how potentially we could recruit, this just an idea, an end user for each of the working groups that potentially could kind of give feedback on some of this on a relatively early phase process. So I've had end users reach out to me and ask, how they can help. I don't know if the working group leads, we have a couple of them here, feel like that might help them, but it'd be nice if we could get some end users to start to raise their hand and volunteer in contribution this way. Go ahead. Anyone else?
Writing docs, as everyone says, is really hard, no matter what. It's just a skill that people either have or don't have, and even if you have that skill, you have to know what the thing is you're writing about.
But actually, I got quite a few contributions from independent contributors who just wrote some documentation. Yes, often needs some refinement, but it helps.
It's just I do want to also caution the community just to be careful that while it doesn't feel like it, whatever we write publicly becomes gospel, and if it's wrong or misleading, it can cause a lot of problems for new users. Sometimes it's better to have no documentation on something than have something that's wrong. But yeah.
So my understanding is that you agree that the working group members should help with documentation changes, right?
I mean, similar to if I was working at a company, if you have a feature and it's not documented, it doesn't exist. So it raises a lot of questions why you would waste time making a feature that no one can use. But obviously, open source is a bit different. People contribute because they want to use a feature themselves, not because they care about other people using it. So, and that's kind of the balance that I think we have to figure out, which is, and maybe that is just making the requirement of contributing something that you have to document it, and I guess that comes to the question of how do we do that without discouraging contributions. But yeah.
So I guess the point that I would say is, at some point, if the working groups would like to have an end user helping them with the docs, let me know and I'll start to promote that. But we have to give the end users a limited way to get engaged, right? Like, should they just join the meetings and you would give them a good first issue, which is, hey, can you review this doc for me or something like that? But we need to make that on-ramp easy and limited in time scope for the end users so they can start to feel like they're making progress and contributing back.
I mean, contributors appear, and I mean, like, for the people who are willing to contribute, I mean, obviously code is usually the most valuable thing, but yeah.
Well, and here's the point, Matthew, is that at least over my experience with Kubeflow, people haven't complained a lot about our code. Maybe you see it more that they complain a lot about the code, but I see more complaints on the user survey about the documentation than I do about the quality of the code.
Yeah, I'd agree that there are challenges for new users, and we've been addressing a lot of them, but they are still, Kubeflow is still a very complicated platform, and I agree that, yeah.
So
We
you
try,
get the point. Anyway, I don't want to belabor it. That's the point, is I'd just like to see some on-ramp for those guys. The second part was testing. Ricardo, yesterday I heard that there was improved and Julius, maybe you can bring this in our conversation that we had about automated testing and efforts along those lines. I think we're doing the best we've ever done on improving our test cycle, our test process. Is there something that we will be able to point to at the end of 1.10 that either has improved our process or made the life easier for the manifest team or any of the working groups, any of those folks? What are we doing with the distributions? Is there something we can point to show success?
I mean, similar to the 1.9.1 release, we'll just continue with the automation. So 1.9, we cover at least the basic functionality of most components in Kubeflow/manifest. And we want to extend this. Yeah, also improve it to some degree to have scenarios that are even closer to actual users using Kubeflow. There are 2 PRs in progress about restructuring the test. There are also documentation PRs about case of inferencing, for example. So probably if people want to help, they can just check out the issue or PR tracker.
do you have a link, maybe?
Yeah, I'm on my phone, so it's difficult to share, but I think it's called restructuring test also.
I'll see if I can find it. Is it a PR or an issue? Issue.
We have issues open, and yeah, some PRs merge.
And so, by the way, in these tests, are they running on GitHub Actions or are they running on custom runners? You know, do we need more resources? Like, you know, we haven't at a community level, we've only currently got the free GitHub Actions. Is that something that's a problem for you guys?
So far, it's working out well. In the future, the more integrated testing we want to do, we could hit the limit, but so far it's working.
Oh, that's not the right link.
Let me find the issue and then post it into the chat.
I've got it.
Okay.
So anyway, you guys get the gist on this one. Thanks, Ricardo. Anything else on, I'm sorry I manipulated or overran on this, but anything else that people want to talk about on their release?
So is this definitely still the timeline? Are we gonna stop making new changes after January 20?
Yeah, the schedule still remains.
And how does that impact you and the notebooks working group, Matthew?
It's a good question. There's definitely a lot of stuff happening in Notebooks 2.0. I don't know for sure how close we will be then. I guess it depends on how much people work over the December period as well. It will be interesting, especially if Kimonos is willing to help out. I don't know, but we'll have to see. Yeah, so Notebooks 2.0 is progressing, but we will require, if you have time to support us, as a Go or a front-end developer, we've got more front-end people now, but it takes time to get them up to speed and have iterations on designs and things like that. So hopefully, but we'll see.
I mean, as long as Kubeflow Notebooks 2.0 is not the default, but just an optional component that is not installed by default, then probably we can also merge stuff after the freeze.
We'll be releasing obviously, and as we'll be developing as we go. But yeah, yeah. Okay. Anything
All
else?
No, I think that's probably it. Thank you for those updates. We'll close out the discussion on the release unless anybody has anything else. Okay, main agenda. Did we already talk about this reorganizing the manifests? Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry. I just put it there just so that people have the link if people want the
Yeah, yeah.
Notebooks 2.0 tracking stuff.
Okay.
And not the AMD images. That's unrelated, but similar. Okay.
Alright.
Yeah. I put that in there just so people could find the link to his comments.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it is important to highlight 2.0's major delivery. It needs help. Please contribute.
So next Thursday is the next meeting, not this Thursday.
Next Thursday. When's the next manifest working group or the platform working group meeting, Julius? He's on
We can't
the
hear you.
phone.
Actually on the 14th, so this Thursday.
This Thursday at what time?
Depends on which country you're in, which time zone.
Whatever country you're in.
I think for me it's in the evening at 1800 or so.
1800. All right. So it's in the evening for Europeans, 6 p.m. or whatever. Anyway, that one is very important that we get that one right and can use help on that meeting. Great for end users to contribute there. How about Andre, can we get a looks good to me on the unblock of the CatTube UI? Has anybody looked at this? Does anybody feel they can approve this?
It's definitely blocked on someone like me or Kimonos, but so I haven't been following what's been happening on this. Andre.
Is Andre here or is he? I think he's at KubeCon.
He is,
Yeah,
but he's on the
sure.
call.
I'm here. Yeah, so I think we have one contributor who fixed the E2Es and update the node version from 14th to 16th. I think we just need to unblock this PR and so we can use the common web apps in the KTPY pre-submits. So
Yeah.
updates the node version and also updates the component for UI E2Es.
Is this a Red Hat guy
No, it's our contributor.
from your side? From training, you mean?
Yeah, from training working group. He also contributed to Katib as well.
Okay.
So
Do we-
basically using
Yeah.
Playwright instead of Cypress to unblock E2Es.
So I guess my other question is, has anything else? I mean, that's great that there's now end-to-end tests at work, but this obviously will have affected. Oh, why was the dashboard Docker image changed? Anyway, but we should probably look at that. But because I know from my experience, when you change these, especially such a significant upgrade, things can just break completely unexpectedly. Not the testing part. I mean the like we need to just someone needs to actually test this and make sure it actually works in the way we expect, because this obviously also affects the Jupyter web app and TensorBoard's web app and Volume's web app as well. So when this was tested, obviously it was for the common part that you were concerned about, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, but someone needs to take a quick build and make sure that that works. I guess what Kimonos, how are you time-wise? Like it's
When is this PR?
what is it? Sorry, or where is it?
For when? For when?
This is just apparently they want to upgrade the Node version of the backend front end apps to 16, and also what was the other changes that you were doing this for?
Yeah, it's changing the testing framework from Cypress to Playwright.
Apparently, yeah, which is, I mean, I'm indifferent to that. It's just, we need to make sure that it actually works in a production distribution. I guess just build the images, check that they actually work the same. So I guess if you and I both check that Kimonos, it probably will be fine. Obviously it won't be cut until the next release anyway. It's just I don't want it to be broken and not have us realize for up until the release, you know. But other than that, after that, what I guess there is this question as to common code as well, like what's going to happen to this code once the Notebooks 2.0 stuff happens. But yeah, I mean, okay, someone needs to just test it.
When you can test it?
I mean, I can take a quick look soon, but it's just, I mean, maybe we could try running the tests with, I mean, Julius might also be able to test a little bit. I mean, it's just, maybe not though. We just need to build the images, check that they work as expected, because I've just had crazy experiences when updating the dashboard from old Node version. So, also, I do worry about why is there Angular dashboard version being updated as well? Or I guess that one's less likely to break. But I don't really mind if we break that one.
So I can ask Tarek to also verify, but it would be nice if you can, you know, see if it's working so we can just, we don't need to wait until you cut the release because we just rely on the commit, right? We don't rely on the branch.
Yeah, and so what part of it are you using? You're using the common part?
Yeah, the common web, the whole KTP UI is using this, right?
Okay, I mean, what we'll do is, I guess, if it's definitely ready to do, I'll just make sure it builds. I'll try running it in a test cluster, and just if it works, then I'll just go through the commit carefully and just make sure there's nothing looking weird. And I'm just looking through it now. It doesn't look that looks fine. But I have to run it to make sure it works, especially because the front, he probably didn't test the actual front end of the Jupyter web app. It's probably fine though. Okay, anyway. Yep, well, I mean, Kimonos, do you have time today to look at that, or do you want me to look at that?
Today for sure no, but I would suggest we could work on this together and even set up a small call to discuss also the common code and what we could do in the future and tackle this at the same time. So not today, but let's discuss maybe through the week we could do something.
When do you need this by, Andre?
I mean, the CI was breaking since April.
What are you doing now instead of it? Is there a workaround
We
you
don't
have?
have any development on the UI since April this year.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't look that bad. I mean, the common code thing we should talk about separately, Kimonos, but I'll just make sure that this works as expected. And if it does, I think I can merge it. Like, I don't think it's a problem. It is a little bit hard to test some of them because things can just break very unexpectedly, especially the volumes thing, which is quite a complicated app. Okay, I'll see what happens. Well, I'll try and take a look at it later today. And if it works, then we can merge it. If not, then because it doesn't really matter. Because again, it doesn't cut a release straight away.
All right. In general, like, do you know, or maybe we can discuss the notebooks or get a call, but who is going to maintain the common web app in the foreseeable future?
Well, it still will be. We will still be depending on it for the volumes web app. So probably us, but if we can talk about what the future might hold if we stop doing that. But Jupyter web app obviously won't be used anymore, us at least. But the volumes will for short term, at least for the while, for at least the first few releases. So we won't have a choice but to maintain it. But if what you're asking is some other solution, then maybe. Although the common code, I mean, yeah, it is Angular, so it's better than nothing. But I don't know. Anyone got any opinions there? If not,
yeah, we just need to keep in mind that if no one actually will maintain the common code, several UIs will be broken from Kubeflow.
What does maintaining it mean for you? Like, what actually is broken on your end, other than this kind of stuff?
No, at least all the UI rather than pipelines we built on top of the common webs, right?
Well, only these three and your one and
You
the
know, case
models.
build models of web,
Yeah.
right? So I'm fine. I mean, we don't need to discuss it right now, but just, you know, we need to find someone who can build any UIs for us, right? Otherwise, we will just leave users without any UIs for some time.
Yeah, I mean, what does the actual common part of it give you? Like, why do you need it per se?
I think the goal was when Aricto was built to provide the common, you know, React components, so Angular components, so we can reuse them everywhere. So we have the same styling across Kubeflow components, right?
Because at least some of what that is coming from like the two new apps, Notebooks 2.0 UI and model registry, have they're using an upstream library to give a lot of the common components from React styling library from Red Hat. But that's just something maybe we should replace them with that. That's what I'm saying. But I think I'm trying to remember what that's called.
It's Butterfly.
Patternfly.
Yeah, I mean, in any case, we need to build, as we discussed before with Red Hat folks, that we need to build the tokens for CSS. So the tokens can be reused across all those micro frontends. We're just not there yet.
Because that
Yeah,
could be
anyway,
enough, right? That could be enough to.
I mean, we still need to build those tokens, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to be building them for both notebooks and model registry. So anyway, all I'm saying is that's probably fine. Okay, let's move on probably. So I'll try and review that. Yeah.
So did we cover, what about this Kubeflow training V2? Did we cover this too?
Yeah, I can give an updates for this. Yes, I think we've done really great progress there. So we already have one Torch distribute runtime, which is working, and also the Llama 3.2 1B, which is also working. I'm going to present it on this Thursday at the KubeCon. So the controller work for the Torch plugin already being complete. We also like have a state machine for train job. We're planning to support several LLM runtimes in upstream, but we just need to figure out how the testing infrastructure will look like, so others can quickly reuse them. Yeah, also I think we've done some progress on the initializers. So dataset initializer and model initializer is working right now. Right now we only support high interface, but we want to expand it to S3, GCS, and other, you know, common initializers to get your data and model on your distributed workloads. Also for the SDK, I've kind of like created the initial PR to support several APIs, public APIs, to create jobs, to kick off the train jobs, and to list all the runtimes. So I think once we get the feedback from the community, from the end users of the KubeCon, I would love to see where we can go, because I think there are a lot of potential for us to provide state-of-the-art blueprints for LLM fine-tuning and distributed training on top of Kubernetes. And I know that some folks from other companies also want to be involved. So if you want to know like what's happening right now and what we're planning to do there, let me know. But we definitely need to, you know, once we have a GPU infrastructure, I think we will probably support more LLM runtimes in upstream. Yeah, the progress there is quite good. Any questions?
Is that tracking issue the right one? Is that the only? Is that the place we should link people? Because it doesn't really explain what's going on. Is there like a explanation of V2, what it is, why we're doing it somewhere?
Yes, we have a cap. We have cap. We have the tracking issue. The tracking issue. Let me link it here.
So I've found the tracking issue already, but it's just, is there like a explanation issue? You know, I did like an FAQ kind of one. For the
No,
notebooks.
it's not the tracking issue. It's tracking issue to support Slurm within Kubeflow, right?
That's interesting, but I mean the one above.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the one. Yes, we have also the GitHub project that we track the progress there. It's
Do you have like an FAQ or like a why are we doing it kind of
yeah,
page?
we have a cap. Yes, let me link a cap here as well. So just a reminder, right? It will be a breaking change for all users of PyTorch jobs and other, CRDs for distributed training, which means like we need to migrate our users to the new APIs. It will take time, I understand, and probably we will maintain the V1 version for a year or a year and a half to see how the migration will look like for all of the users of PyTorch jobs and TF jobs and other distributed training CRDs. Yeah, also we're planning to implement API v2 as part of this cap. I think once we have the Torch, so Torch plugin is already working. So the next one is working on API, so we can support deep speed on other like API related frameworks. Yeah, so this will be like I think our next goal after we have initial implementation for Torch.
Cool. Sounds good. Do you need people helping, or how much stuff have you got? Have you got resources to get it done yourself, or?
Yeah, I think we have few folks from my team, few folks from Bloomberg, Nutanix, Red Hat, but I know many people want to get involved. We just try to create some sort of initial implementation, and then try to like have some sort of good first issue to work on. But overall, like if you want to also be involved, let me know. Especially like what kind of runtimes do you want to see? Because I think it will be up to the community to decide which frameworks do we want to support in the future.
Do we have a timeline?
So we're planning to release the MVP after KubeCon. So I think by end of November, we will release the initial version. Yeah, because then we need to create the release branch 1.9, which will be the final release for V1. And we will only create the patch releases moving forward on the 1.9 branch. We definitely need a lot of the, people who can write documentation and other things. So for those, I think we definitely need some help from the community.
Cool. So hopefully we'll have a thing to look at and demo at some point in the next month or two.
Yeah. Anyone who will be on KubeCon like this Thursday, we will present.
Where are you presenting it at the main stage, or where are you presenting?
Yeah, Yuki will be on the main stage. I will unfortunately be just recorded. But if you be in KubeCon, you can see our talk there. I can link it here as well on the community note.
Cool. If you're at KubeCon, take a look. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, I think we can move forward. Do
So
any
that's
questions?
Oh yeah, yeah, go ahead. Anyone have any questions from the people who are here? There's less people here than normal, but 10 people, 11 people. If not, anyone want to, well, I just want to add one more. So we did merge the update from last time to the installing Kubeflow page, which is good. Since I have Kimonos here, that's interesting. The top one is just very basic change, which says which rewords only deploy KF now, because I couldn't get a contact with Kimonos, but that's the old screenshot. If you roll down just one, so I just renamed that all certified to multiple, because for end users they keep saying to me, who is what is certified? They don't understand what it means, because especially if you don't speak English very well, it's not clear that that means multiple things, because they might think that means things that we certify or someone else certifies. And so what I was planning to do is just rename it to multiple for my one. But if Canonical also wants to rename it, then they can rename their one as well if they would like. If not, then I guess it only affects deploy KF at this point. So I'd prefer it if Canonical, which also is confusing, would fix their one as well. But Kimonos, do you know who can approve that or ask that?
I could ask Andrea. Andrea usually has an idea of that. My side is the same either way.
Yeah, so if we can just get a response back in the next week or so, because I don't want to block this, because it's just yeah, so it's a pretty simple change. It's just literally rewording it and lowercasing the upper parts, the quotations, just because it's a bit nicer without them being uppercase. It's the only change. Anyone got any strong opinions against that? If not, then it should be good. As long as Canonical agrees for their one. If not, then we can just leave it as is and I'll only update deploy cave. Also, if you have a link to a page which lists the distributions you support, that's also something you should probably ask about. Yep. Do you know if that'll be possible, Kimonos, or to ask?
Yep, I'll ask.
Yeah, and so then the last part of our delisting of old websites. So we did fix the old hosting issues with Nutellify. So now that we have the ability to update the old websites, it's good. But we still haven't agreed on this master versus latest versus other things yet. On the next one, Josh, on the rename master one. So can we try and agree on whatever this is so we can get this merged today? It's a pretty simple change, but what are we gonna do? So this right now says just latest, but would we prefer, so that's the old one, and then the new one, so we're going to use the word latest or master or what? That's really the, because what this is the link to the current version of the website. Because the reason I was concerned about using the word master, not only because there's some political questions, but because people get confused thinking that they shouldn't be looking at that version of the website, even though that is the most up-to-date for most people. I know that Andre has some opinions here, but because the master actually links you to the kubeflow.org, which is the version which goes into the master branch. Is the reason it's called master. A lot of this stuff's really confusing. Don't worry about all that stuff. It's really just the top change for this one now.
Okay.
So what do you want to change initially?
So this is just changing the drop-down box on the top right of the. This other stuff was discussions about things we've already fixed. Is changing it so that the top drop-down box on the top right, reducing the amount of versions in there because there was way too many, and also on the latest version of the website, and also just making it so that renaming the word master to latest, so that there was some discussion that was confusing to users both ways, but yeah.
So why do you want to rename master to latest right now?
It's mostly just because of the reasons I was saying, which was if you're a new user, it can be a little bit confusing as to which version of the website you should be looking at. If you don't know that you're looking at it, need to look at a snapshotted version of it. And the word master usually implies unreleased. Usually.
Yeah, but from the Kubeflow manifest perspective, it's unreleased.
That's not manifest, though. This is website.
Yeah, but I mean, from the Kubeflow version, it's unreleased. Because
we don't usually stage unreleased. Like, we don't have like a branch that we store code. Like when we update docs, we do intend people to look at the latest version of the docs if they're currently using the latest version of Kubeflow. Usually. Except around the release. That's the only time.
Why we don't remove just everything from there, latest and masters? Because Kubeflow org points to the master, right?
Sorry?
Like Kubeflow org points to the master branch right now, right?
Yeah, but this is just the drop-down box. So it's like when you go, how do you get back to master when you're not on master?
Just type kubeflow.org.
but if you, it's not a, like.
Yeah, because my only concern is that if we remove master to latest, folks might think that we kind of, they can actually deploy it from the manifest, the version of the latest version of all of the components, but this is not true, right?
So this is just a snapshot of the docs. This is not about the manifests.
Yeah, but again, I think users just feels a little bit confusing, right? Because they see those versions, right? They don't really see the versions of the components here, right? They don't see the versions of training operator or notebooks here, right? Or like pipelines, right? I don't think, from my perspective, we should do renaming until we're fixing the problem of versioning the individual websites.
So, but that's so the purpose of this is just like, at very least, the goal here is to reduce the amount of links on the list. I can change it back to the word master.
Oh, we can reduce it separately, so it's two separate issues, right? Reducing is fine for me, I think, unless again everyone else will have like a strong opinion against it. We can definitely reduce it to just 4 versions. But renaming is, I think, a separate issue we should talk about, right?
Well, that's what
Go
we're
ahead,
doing here. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ricardo.
Yeah, I would say we could even reduce that list to even more. I mean,
Yep.
haven't we discussed that 1.5 is like too old for a Kubeflow release? So why not beginning with 1.6 and having the rest cut it out?
So
Um,
I might take a different position here that I think there's a lot of people who have not updated their Kubeflow clusters, I suspect.
I mean, I just left it from 1.0 and later just because it's, that seems reasonable. It's quite a long time ago. Haven't really seen anyone using before 1.0. And at least we can start with this. So my only question is then, is there any other way of... My concern is just that people don't understand that master is because again, Andre, you seem to be of a different opinion that people shouldn't be using the latest version of the docs.
No, I think they should. I mean, I think they should. I think it depends like how they getting the releases, right? Because we have users who just want to take the latest version from the main or master branch, right? Maybe they want to test it out during like the development phase, right? We don't want to block those users, right?
But it's no, what I'm more saying is like when throughout the 1.9 release, 1.9 is currently the latest version. We took a snapshot of the whole 1.9 of the docs when we cut the 1.9 release. Those docs have not been updated in the last few months, even though we have improved the docs subsequently. We've added new fixes, rewordings, other things like that. And so that's why I'm trying to discourage people from looking at those snapshots. And so right now we also have another PR, which is just to do the same delisting from Google for the 1.9 branch as well, which is what that second PR is. But all of the other snapshot versions have that warning banner, which says this version is a snapshot, not the latest.
Yeah, I mean, I understand this point, but again, it's not solving the issue that's if I'm a user, right, and I see the latest, I cannot deploy it, right?
But the latest version talks about 1.9 and other things like that in it.
The latest version is talking about the master branch.
But no one's updated the docs yet for things that aren't released, is what I'm saying.
No, we do that. Like components actually constantly doing this. Pipelines team is doing this, right? We are doing this for training, right?
And that's and if that happens, then people should be putting flags that say this is version 2.3 of pipelines that it requires. And that's what I was saying before.
This is why I think so. From my personal perspective, I think first of all, I need to solve this problem that Ricardo was proposing before doing this renaming, because this is more important to see how we're going to version those pages, right?
In its current state, though, I'm just saying most users should still be looking at the master version of the website. That's what I'm saying. Because it's just more useful for them. I agree that there could be some confusion if they see a feature that's not labeled as a new feature that isn't released yet. But
so why not just removing everything? Like, I don't know, is any concern to...
What do you mean by removing everything?
Like, just keep 1.9 there and remove latest and master.
Well, the problem is 1.9 is actually the worst one, because 1.9 is one that they actually should not be using, because there's lots of information about 1.9 that never made it into the 1.9 branch.
So what? Okay, so there are different things here. What you're saying looks like to me it's something that we need to improve in the release handbook. So documentation changes should be a never-ending, at least for the latest release version, it should be a never-ending task, because while we are still supporting 1.9 as the latest one, we should keep supporting changes in the latest version. But yeah, again, master is for development. 1.9 is the latest today. When we have 1.10, then 1.10 becomes the latest version, and 1.9 should be, well, older version, but I don't believe it's an archival one. I believe that's the proposal for the other PR. Again, I believe this is more something that we need to improve in the release handbook than making changes in the website by itself.
Yeah, even okay. So there's two kind of things there. One is that we want to be able to, if you have PRs for features that you don't want people to look at unless they explicitly choose to, we should have just a next branch, you know, just the next release branch that people can cherry pick from once we cut the real release.
Yeah, but that's the point where I like to propose for the new documentation workflow changes, because only the working group members would know if that documentation change belong to the latest release or to the feature one. So we could fulfill that way by, you know, if we have that process to keep syncing all the changes from a given version branch, then we can update this automatically. But there's still something that we need to propose. And again, I feel this is more like an improvement topic for the release cycle than something that we need to change in the website.
We still, yeah. I mean, I mean, I'm happy to make that, but to still say master because I want to get those two PRs merged for two reasons. One is that they, especially the one in the master branch, is there so that when we do archive, when we cut the next 1.10 branch, the flag that archives it will use the same code as what I've updated all the old websites to use now, which is just like a nice yellow warning banner. But if you just want me to make that say master, that's fine. But
I'm +1 with master for right
Okay.
now.
okay, and then for the
Master as well.
yeah, and then for the 1.9 delisting, because I want to try and prevent 1.9 from showing up in Google search results and taking forever to delist as well. Yeah, what do people think about?
Now we're talking about the other PR.
Yeah, because once it archives, using the word latest, I think does make sense because all of the current archives use the word latest to point to the latest version. But that's a separate PR. But
Yeah.
it's just
PR.
so like effectively we have this debate before is should there be a big yellow banner warning on the 1.9 branch saying this is a snapshot of the release at the time of the 1.9 release?
So I'm not sure because we can do cherry pick, right? Still, if there are some changes that needs to be go on the 1.9.
We don't really do that though, you know?
But we can cherry pick, right? On the 1.9 branch.
I mean, we can, but we don't. That's what I'm trying to say.
Why we don't do this?
I mean, no one does it, right? Like
But
someone has to.
you can do it. Like, for example, like if you want to see you change in the 1.9, you don't want to cherry pick it.
It's partially because, I mean, in this particular case, it just requires people to do it, but also some of the changes, you know, they're quite big refactorings and like the current master branch has had quite a few changes since the 1.9 release that actually are about 1.9. For example, in pipelines, there's big refactoring of pipelines docs. But all I'm saying is, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of changes do you think you should be cherry picked to 1.9 and which one should be kept in master?
I don't have an opinion, but
Okay, because my understanding, like, you did a great job with making changes to the documentation layout. I believe this is not something that should be cherry picked to 1.9 documentation. It should be up to the next releases documentation to get this new layout, right? This is one thing. The other one is that if we're making changes in the content and that affects the latest release, then yeah, we should cherry pick to 1.9 branch. And again, we're not doing that, but this is something that we need to improve in the release handbook, right? It's not something that we need to solve by making changes to the website.
no, but this is like, so what I'm saying is every other archive version, one of the things we've standardized on now is that they get a big yellow warning banner saying you're looking at a snapshot. Like you're not actually looking at the kubeflow.org because people can come to it accidentally.
What does archive mean to you?
Well, it doesn't actually say the word archive. That's just the code name internally. The actual thing it says is the wording we agreed on for the other ones, which says, it says this. It says, this is a static snapshot from the time of the 1.9 release. It says snapshot, not archive. For up-to-date information, see the latest version. Then it links you to kubeflow.org.
So the problem that we might face with the users if we do that, right? Like they're using, distributions of Kubeflow 1.9, right? But they see the docs from the master, which is not actually part of 1.9, right? And they will complain us, hey, like I read this doc, why it is not working for me as expected, right? This is why for now we're suggesting users to, if they're using 1.9 from Kubeflow distributions, they probably should look in the 1.9 docs, right? To make sure the features they're looking at actually compatible with their components, right? Because we can, yeah.
Do we want that warning there either way, though? That's what I'm saying. That's the warning that appears at the top of every page for the
I
1.9.
don't think we should make a static snapshot for now, right? I mean, if I have very important change, it needs to go to the, for example, like if I have a feature which we don't document as 1.9, we should cherry pick this feature and 1.9 branch.
Are we going to do that for all the old ones? Like, do you want me to do that now for the
If
code?
you have any specific change which is not part of 1.9, yes, I think we should. Like, would I have any specific feature from the component that is not included in 1.9? Like very particular feature which is not in 1.9.
So it's hard to know what, because if you guys are making unreleased feature information, but the Kubeflow pipelines definitely does have refactors, like improvements to the docs, which are affecting everyone.
Yeah, but refactors, it's not the new feature, right?
No, but then if someone, it's so much better that it's worth people looking at the latest version, even if they are using 1.9. That's what I'm saying.
I think if pipelines working group agrees, we should just cherry pick to the 1.9 branch. You should talk to the pipelines team about it.
Because the last commit on 1.9 was July 2020, July 22nd, that branch. And then there have been maybe like 40 commits since then to the website.
Yeah, 49 commits, yep.
And some of them are stuff like, oh, the community link to Slack is fixed. Which obviously is still affecting, but people, yeah. That's why the warning page is important for the ones that aren't about specific docs as well. The whole homepage just looks better as well. And
in general,
like
yeah, I would say we should distinguish it, right? We should distinguish the docs about community, distributions, and other things, and about the components, right?
Well, I don't know.
Like, yeah.
The versions drop down says for itself, right? If you're choosing the documentation for 1.9, you're gonna see only things that should belongs to the 1.9 features.
So when do we put that warning banner though? Because again, it's easy to end up on that website accidentally. That's why we do it for every other version. That warning banner exists for every other version. It's just,
Why
should
do
we
you
do
want
it
to
for
have
the one?
warning for 1. I think we should do it once we release 1.10, right?
That's one option we could do. That's what they used to do when they first released Kubeflow. You know, one release version behind, but they were cherry picking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm happy to just wait until 1.10, but before we do that.
For example, like Kubernetes only puts warning on 1.30, right? And I understand that they're doing differently compared to Kubeflow, but they don't put warning on 1.31, for example.
Yeah, that's because they use snapshots that are actually, they have the next kind of branch that they work and then they pull it as the main branch.
Yes, it's development branch and you can, yeah.
Which is what we probably should do as well. Because again, I still believe that we should have the main version of the website be the main place for most people and then have just labels on what version each feature was added. But in any case,
yeah,
we
I
can
think approaches could be, I don't know, dangerous because, like Andrew, if we're gonna add some warnings for adding snapshots from the future releases, we might end up with just missing that we added this message and then we release 1.10 docs with those. I would say I saw something, I believe, in the Kubernetes documentation that makes things like if there's a new feature that's going to be introduced in a new component or in a feature release, it explicitly says this is going to this is a feature beginning to that specific version and earlier releases. So, and again, there's another thing that I'm trying to follow with that PR because from my understanding, it's not just a matter of which Kubeflow release we're talking about, but which component release, right? I mean, one
Yeah,
is
this is yeah.
pipelines to 0, and then 191 gets Kubeflow pipelines 230 release. So I don't know if you follow my logic here, but I mean, we're tying the documentation, the whole documentation to one Kubeflow release, but in fact, what it matters is what is the component release. It's bundled in the Kubeflow distribution.
And this is why we do these snapshots, just because because we weren't versioning internally before, and we still probably will struggle to do that. So we just take a snapshot at the time of the release and then hope it's good enough. That's usually why. And that's why there's this warning banner, because for most users, if we're structuring the docs correctly, it should warn you about when a feature was added. But
Yeah, I have a slightly different opinion here. I think we differ from Kubernetes, and I think we're more close to Hugging Face. That is why I suggested that we version our docs differently, like what Hugging Face is doing. But I think it's kind of a longer discussion of what we should do with our docs.
yeah,
Because
okay.
not many users consume Kubeflow as a distribution.
Yeah, so anyway, so to get this to be happy, should we I'll make it so that first, because I don't want the archive warning banner should still be the same as what it is right now for all the other ones. So if we merge this other first PR but without the word master, just make it master, sorry. Then we're all happy to do that at least. And then we can agree that we won't put the warning banner on the 1.9 until 1.10 for now.
I would say we only create PR to limit the amount of versions for listing, and then we iterate on other things, right?
What I'm saying is the question about 1.9 though is, are we going to agree that we put the yellow warning banner at the time of the 1.10 released? But it still seems like you're still looking at a snapshot. The warning banner is still true.
I think we should do it. Any concerns? Like Ricardo, Josh, Milos, from your perspective.
If not, then we should start the recording anyway. So,
Okay.
anyone got anything else they want to add before we close? No. Okay, cool.